to the Food and Beverage Purchasing Doc. Today we're going to talk a little bit about beef, the grades, the different choices you guys and gals have out there, and some innovative things that we found. Years ago, me and a couple of regional chefs were taken for a tour of a beef slaughter out in Greeley, Colorado. And we were looking at the time what they call as a white box program. A white box program is basically Angus. In other words, it's an upper end choice product that this particular meat packer was moving into. Again, I'm sorry, this was 20 years ago. And at the time, Angus was really just coming alive. It was out there by a number of different folks, but you know, most restaurants at the time, or the private clubs that we were dealing with, were used to either being specified as prime or a choice mandate. They could, depending on the grade of club, they were classified in 4 different grades as far as types of service. The best, the lowest they could go would be a U.S. choice for both lunch and dinner. Concept 2 would have prime at dinner, choice during lunch if they needed to. And a concept 1 club would need to have prime day and night. But in any event, we got a chance to go through this plant. And, it's like 5:30 in the morning. We end up on the kill floor, and the cattle were on a ramp that came down from the pen, and they were nose to tail, and they let the gate open, and the first animal came to the floor. They wrapped a chain around his neck, and the gore just went on from there. But the deal was, we got a chance to follow that side. It was cut down into sides at the on the kill floor, and then the sides went in different directions, and there were 2 lines through the plant that took the side down to all its individual parts. So we went station by station and got a chance to watch, and these professional cutters had chainmail gloves and chainmail on their arms, chainmail aprons, because needless to say, they kept their knives incredibly sharp. And going station by station, it was amazing, where at one point the guy who was taking us for the tour, the kid was cutting, and he brought down the cut to a certain point, and he'd be throwing the scraps in this little hole. And I was like, well, where does that go? He goes, well, that hole goes all the way to the basement. That hole goes to this floor, and that hole goes to that floor. And he goes, we literally do not waste an ounce. And so I said, well, okay, I'm embarrassed to ask, but what the heck's in the basement? And excuse me, his words, not mine. Well, that's where lips and assholes go. Basically, it could become hot dogs, and quite honestly, dog food, depending on, which floor we're really talking about. The basement really was dog food. But in any event, it was an incredibly interesting day when we finally got into the final room. I'm not exaggerating. If there was a person standing at the other side of the room, I could see that it's a person, but I couldn't tell any features or anything. And he said that there were 5,000 sides in that room at that point, waiting to be approved and graded by the USDA. So when we got over to the USDA station, this gentleman who was doing it had a little, almost like a toll booth kind of thing, where he had a computer there. And as the side was coming by, he'd go down to the 14th rib and make a cut and take a look at it. And the thing's moving. So it can't be more than 30 seconds that he's spending taking a look and deciding whether this is going to be prime, choice, or select. Now that was at the time. Now USD actually has got with the market, and it does evaluate to determine whether Angus beef meets certain criterias, and it can't be called Angus without meeting these particular criterias. And honestly enough, breed has really hardly anything, if not anything, to do with it. It's more a matter of just marbling. And you can see um, by the USDA picture that we have up there between the four, 25.50 a pound. Now again, these aren't real prices. They're close to real, but we put them there to show what the differences are between the grades. The US Choice, and that's lower end choice now. It used to be years and years ago where restaurants really didn't have a choice. This is before Angus, 40 years ago. No choice, excuse me, no pun. Choice was choice. And you either got on the, let's say, 10 different grade points, you either got at the very low end, which is one step above no roll, to 1 point below prime. And you got what you got, okay? Where now it's further graded, and you do have a choice for solid, reputable, good source of upper end choice, but lower end choice is lower end choice. That's about 54% of all the beef that's graded comes out to be US choice. Believe it or not, prime back then was 2% is what they told me. And I just did some research before coming on, and now they're saying about 2.9% are prime. One of the interesting thing was at the time, Japan was getting the major portion of all the prime beef that was produced. And now they're saying that Japan, quote, receives a lot of the prime. So I don't know if other countries like Venezuela or any of those is creating any prime beef for their consumption. Maybe they're raising their own now. I don't know. It's been a lot since I've been involved. But anyway, Select, and that was again called No Roll years ago, and it is in the supermarkets. I can't tell you people that are either friends or neighbors. I guess the most literally biggest question I ever get asked, because they know I've been around commercial kitchens since the 70s. Ooh, I'm dating myself. Is saying, why is it when I go out to get a piece of steak that it's never as good as what I get in a restaurant? And when I ask them, well, two things. What did you buy? And what are you trying to match? And some people will say, well, I get the Select, because in their minds, they think that the supermarket, that there's some guy in the back going through boxed beef and selecting this better grade of product just for them. Well, once I explained to them that that's below the, now again, it's not a bad product. It's just you're not going to get the marbling and so on, even that a choice grade product would get you. Now, when it comes to like, depending on the cut of meat, when you start talking about a tenderloin, a Select tenderloin could be okay. It's not something I'd serve to guests and whatever, but if my wife and I are looking to have a 6 to 8 ounce tenderloin, and I could find a Select, we'll give it a shot. And the reverse is true also. And this was kind of what I was wanting to get to, is from a menu standpoint, the guys at Texas Roadhouse seem to, in my opinion, and now I understand many more people are doing this, but it's the first place that I noticed it at. Let's just put it that way. They offer a top sirloin, and what they're doing is they're buying a prime top sirloin. So they went for a lesser cut of meat, but they went to the highest grade. So the price point is still more than tolerable. And I'm going to tell you, now again, my wife and I, we're not Ruth Chris necessarily folks, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that to me is when we're going out for our anniversary or special people are in town, we'll save the prime beef and the big ticket for that. But, if we're going out on a Friday night and, whether it's stopping at Chili's or in this case, Texas Roadhouse, there's one literally almost walk to it from here. It's a good eating steak. Okay, 8 to 10 ounce, something like that. I'm very impressed with it. So if you're building a menu and you're a small independent and you're looking for that, I don't know, $9, $10 entree where your customer is going to get a nice piece of meat, comfortable, and the sourcing is there. You don't have to worry about prime availability in the context of that cut. It's something you may want to take a close look at. Hi, this is going to be our Let's Get Personal segment. And basically what it means is that at the end of each video, the first part of it is always going to be about purchasing, games vendors play that they don't want you to know about, and helpful tips that can hopefully allow you to get your food costs down a point or two, just by knowing what's the right product for the right situation. But Let's Get Personal is something that I decided I want to do. It's only going to be a 1 to 2 minute kind of thing. I was on a social platform for, quote, restaurant managers, and just trying to figure out what the restaurant doc's going to do and that kind of thing. And I started reading through some threads, and there were a number of folks. These are guys and gals that are newly either restaurant managers, food and beverage managers for different segments of whether it's a hotel or private club, and asking each other questions. And it seems like that the training of how to teach young folk etiquette, professionalism. One kid was going on and on that I've been in the corporate environment. I something doing something wrong. I'm not getting recognized. I'm not, growing with the organization, and just absolutely frustrated. So what this is going to be is just a guy that was lucky enough to teach a lot of managers over the years. And again, I know my ideas in some cases are going to just be, well, there's that old guy going through it again. But understand that what I've seen over the years and the professionals that I've had the opportunity to interact with, there's a common thread. You hear somebody say, well, the harder I work, the luckier I get. There's truth to that. Okay, I watch in restaurants, when my wife and I go out to eat, it doesn't matter whether it's high end or middle market or even fast food. I can't help it. I look. Why did that waiter walk out of their station empty-handed? It kills me. Okay, but because no manager's telling them. And I have some ideas on why that is. So, this one's way longer than I expected it to be, but here we go. Here's just one. If you're in a situation where a customer asks a question, either email or whatever, so many of these young folks are afraid of confrontation. Okay? Put on your big boy pants or your big girl pants and take a deep breath and just go at it. They're not going to kill you. Okay, they may yell at you. I had one, this is the truth. I had one lady at a Sunday buffet. We had about 300 people in the dining room. This lady, I could see, she's storming at me. She sees me and she has this plate of Jell-O and she's coming straight at me. And I know I'm in for it. But I'm thinking, what the heck is she going to say about this Jell-O? Well, she sticks it in my face and says, quote, "This Jell-O is cold." I looked at her. I said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I took it, I went in the kitchen, I nuked it on 30 seconds, brought it back to her. She ripped it out of my hands and off she went. I was like, that had to be probably one of the most unique that ever happened to me in all the years I've been doing it. Point I'm getting at is, don't take it personal. Answer them, talk to them, and you're going to be shocked over time. Your covers are going to go up. Now, with that said, enough for being personal. Listen, I hope you subscribe to my channel. I hope you come back and visit. Every week, every Monday at 5 a.m., we're going to post our videos. So maybe you can stop, have a cup of coffee, and just sit back and let this old guy just go at you. Okay, thanks so much. Talk soon.